Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. The two best players in baseball are all but guaranteed to be named the MVPs of their respective leagues. Although, heading into September, the outcome of the National League MVP race wasn't set in stone. Now, I don't believe WAR, or wins above replacement, is the end-all be-all in discussions like these, but there is a point when the gaps are too large to ignore. Take a look at 2006. These were the F-WARs of each MVP winner. Now, here are the F-WAR leaders of both the American League and National League, along with where they placed in the MVP race. Quite the difference, right? Well, think of it like this. Back in 2020, writers from MLB.com conducted a revote of the 2006 AL MVP race. The player who originally won the award failed to place in the top 5. So this begs the question: what happened in 2006? Today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek. Summer has turned into fall, which not only means the MLB playoffs are around the corner, but the NFL season is well underway, and I've got a special hookup for you guys. If you use my code STORM10, you get 10% off any tickets on SeatGeek, whether you're a new customer or returning customer. From sports to concerts to festivals, you name it. Recently, I used SeatGeek to attend a Fernando Tatis Jr. bobblehead game. Not only did I get a cool bobblehead and watch the Padres hit back-to-back-to-back home runs for the first time since 1997, I also got a great deal on my ticket, as SeatGeek made it super simple to compare prices using their rating system. A 1 to 10 scale where green means good and red means bad, so make sure to look for the green dots. No matter how many times you've bought tickets using SeatGeek before, code STORM10 is going to get you 10% off your next order. So click the link in the description, open the SeatGeek app, and go add code STORM10 to your account. What are you waiting for? Do it now, because this offer is only available for a limited time.
Crowd on their feet, the 3-2.
This is Albert Pujols, who heading into 2006 had established himself as a premier power hitter, sitting behind only Barry Bonds in terms of WRC+. However, it wasn't OPS Plus or WRC Plus that earned Pujols his first MVP award in 2005. It was a .330 average, 41 home runs, and 117 RBIs. Okay, but what about the players who finished second and third? Derek Lee had a higher batting average and more home runs than Pujols, while Andrew Jones led the entire league with 51 home runs and 128 RBIs. What separated Pujols from the competition? His team's record. Considering the vote breakdown of the top 3, these records likely influenced voters to some extent. While the Baseball Writers Association of America mentions specific guidelines regarding MVP voting, they also say it's up to the individual voter to decide the criteria for an MVP winner. And in a mid-2000s MVP race, it was clear the deciding factors were traditional stats and team success. So let's fast forward to the end of April 2006, where Pujols was not only eyeing a second straight MVP, but simultaneously making history. With 14 home runs and a 1400 OPS, he became the first and only player since 1901 to produce this stat combination in the first month of a season. Before the season, the Wall Street Journal gathered 9 baseball writers to make various predictions for the 2006 season. 8 of these 9 writers picked Pujols to win the NL MVP award, meaning the real debate was in the American League. The writers named 6 different players for the American League, and as much as I appreciate a bold Johnny Peralta prediction, I'm gonna let you know right now, none of these players placed in the final top 5, including reigning MVP Alex Rodriguez. But don't worry, Yankees fans, you're still represented in this MVP race.
Swung on, there it goes, it is high, it is far, it is gone!
At the end of April 2006, Derek Jeter had concluded one of the best months of his career as he hit nearly 400 and possessed an OPS of over 1100. At this point in his career, Jeter was a seasoned veteran with multiple top 10 MVP finishes, but outside of 1998, he was never really a serious challenger. Although, this time around, Jeter had submitted his name in the conversation. Unsurprisingly, he couldn't maintain a near 400 average forever, but he did enough to keep his name in the running at the All-Star break, where he was a starter in the American League lineup. In this lineup, there was another name to keep an eye on: David Ortiz, who not only led the AL in home runs and RBIs, but sought to solidify his status as MLB's most clutch player. In the span of just over 2 weeks in June, Ortiz hit 3 walk-offs. Not quite the 3 playoff walk-off hits in 11 days he hit in 2004, but still a notable feat, as storylines are often key factors voters consider, which Ortiz certainly needed, as up to this point in MLB history, no primary DH had ever won the MVP award. Plus, despite leading the American League in home runs and RBIs, he was hitting below 300, unlike fellow DHs Jim Thome and Travis Hafner, as well as teammate Manny Ramirez. However, as ESPN writer David Schoenfield wrote in an August 2006 article, Big Papi's late-inning heroics have served to wipe Ramirez completely out of the public's eye. In the same article, he also references an ESPN.com fan poll that was recently conducted, which had fans decide their MVP favorite between Ortiz, Thome, Jeter, Joe Mauer, and Carlos Guillen. As these 5 players all played for teams with winning records, this meant Travis Hafner's candidacy was over, despite the fact he was the only player in the entire league at the end of August with a 300 average, 40 home runs, and 100 RBIs. Yes, that includes Albert Pujols, who to this point was still an MVP frontrunner in his own right. But because he missed a few weeks of games due to injury, he was no longer the league's leader in home runs. On September 3rd, 2006, Philadelphia Phillies first baseman Ryan Howard hit 3 home runs, ending the day with an average over 300, a league-leading 52 home runs, and 133 RBIs. Keep in mind, this was Howard's first full season and only his 3rd year competing in the big leagues. Before Howard, the only other player to hit 50 home runs in the first 3 seasons of a career was Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner back in 1947. Safe to say, while modern stats favored Pujols, traditional stats and narratives favored Howard. Although, considering the respective records of the Phillies and Cardinals, nothing was set in stone. In fact, according to F-WAR, the best player in not just the National League, but the entire league was Met center fielder Carlos Beltran. A near 40 home run center fielder with elite defense who plays for MLB's best team? Sounds like a traditional MVP candidate to me. All in all, with a month of games left to go, both awards were still in play, so any sort of slip-up would be detrimental. Well, that's exactly what happened with Beltran. Don't get me wrong, his season was impressive, but Pujols was the king of the National League, according to modern-day stats. In terms of traditional stats, Howard's combination of 58 home runs and 149 RBIs, a feat only he and Sammy Sosa have accomplished post-integration, is what ultimately earned Howard the 2006 NL MVP. More specifically, he was the league's best hitter for the league's best second-half team. As the New York Times' Jack Curry put it, although the Phillies did not make the playoffs, Howard grabbed the MVP award because his impressive second half helped a comatose team awaken and challenge for a postseason berth. When examining this race through a modern lens, Pujols and Beltran would definitely be given more consideration if this took place today. But I don't necessarily consider Howard's historic season as a robbery of Pujols. On the other hand, there's a reason the American League MVP vote is still brought up today. Take a look at the top 5 American League home run leaders. 4 of these 5 players were DHs, while the lone outfielder, Jermaine Dye, should have been a DH. Knowing that no DH had ever won the MVP award, let's check out the batting average leaders. Joe Mauer and Derek Jeter were both intriguing options as they played premium positions for winning teams. But the last non-pitcher to win the AL MVP with under 100 RBIs was Ichiro in 2001. Before that was Rickey Henderson in 1990. Well, considering there was no clear favorite, what about a pitcher? More specifically, the unanimous AL Cy Young winner, Johan Santana. In terms of traditional stats, Santana led the entire league in wins, ERA, and strikeouts. Plus, he played for a 96-win division winner. Seems like an ideal solution, right? Unfortunately for Santana, prior to 2006, the last time a starting pitcher won the MVP with less than 20 wins and an ERA higher than 2.50 was back in 1950. So, with no perfect candidate, this is where the value of narratives increase in voters' minds. And, well, let's just say the player who won the 2006 AL MVP is someone I haven't mentioned yet. Twins first baseman Justin Morneau, who narrowly beat Derek Jeter to win the award. Unsurprisingly, the New York fans and media were outraged, as Morneau wasn't an overpowering monster hitter. This is where the narratives come in. By June 7th, Morneau and the Twins were performing far below expectations, resulting in manager Ron Gardenhire to hold a private meeting with Morneau, benching him for that day's game. "It woke me up. He lit a fire under me," Morneau said. "Gardy helped me realize that I can be a lot better than I was." From June 8th onwards, the Twins were the league's best team, with Morneau leading the way, ranking as the AL leader in average and RBIs, along with a top 10 ranking in home runs. Ultimately, the voters saw a non-DH with a 300 average, 30 home runs, and 130 RBIs who was the main driver for the ascension of an eventual 96-win team. But does this justify winning the MVP? MLB.com writers in 2020 certainly didn't think so, as Morneau fell out of the top 5, as Jeter, Ortiz, and Santana made up the new top 3, with Travis Hafner in 5th place. But in 4th place, they chose someone we haven't mentioned, Grady Sizemore. Perhaps the biggest victim of the mid-2000s traditional mindset, Sizemore was by far the American League's best player in terms of F-WAR, as he became the first and only center fielder to hit 50 doubles and 25 home runs in a season. Yet, he placed 11th in MVP voting. Still, as frustrating as some of these outcomes are, the last thing I want to do is completely diminish Howard and Morneau's hard-earned accomplishments. Sure, like many of you guys, I'd choose different MVP winners too. Maybe Santana or Sizemore in the American League, along with Pujols, Beltran, or even Howard in the National League. No doubt, if these races occurred today, the debates would look much different. And as much as it's fun to poke holes in the logic of past baseball writers, it's easier to just accept the absolute mess this MVP race was. A mess that allowed Howard and Morneau to sit on top of the baseball world, something that can't be taken away from them. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like if you did, and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching.